go. Looking real good. Let me share this to the book real quick. What's going on, man? As you can see, I'm on the road. We definitely, I was a little late, but I was doing something. I was designing. I'm always working. I just finished working, and I was working on a flyer, and now I'm on these airwaves. I'm on a highway. I never started on a highway. I usually start on the road once I leave work, but I got off of work pretty early. Well, on time, you know. All right. I damn near left at 4 o'clock because I got a project I'm working on. I gotta get to about 6 o'clock around where I live. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really have the time to be pokey at my job after work. Like normally, if I don't have anything directly to do, I take my time when I'm going from work to home. You know, it's a 45-minute commute. It's a lot of traffic, you know what I'm saying? But when I got something to do, I'm gonna leave as early as possible. These snacks right here is these dill pickle Lays. They delicious. I shouldn't be eating them. I noticed, but this is my snack time about this day, and I drink a lot of water. You know what I'm saying? So my stomach ain't bothering me too tough. Hopefully this won't put it back in ruin, but I've been doing real good today as far as drinking my water, my hydration, and my fiber and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Oh man, Lay's chips. You can't have just one, man. Right? What up, Jen? They're crunchy. They're flavorfully delicious. I can't get enough. But this episode ain't gonna be too long. Because like I said, I gotta be in kind of speed mode. I gotta handle some business. We're doing some filming. We're off. Me and my crew, we filming the second season of Hartford 911. If you go on YouTube and type in Hartford 911, you'll see this sketch sitcom that I did. Me and my homies did a couple years back. We dropped it last year, the first season, and now we're just finishing up shooting season number 2. So that's what I got to do in a minute. I mean, hey, for those that are watching, like, share, and subscribe. Well, we're going to hop right into it, though. June 1st, 2026. Today marks 7 years that I have not had any alcoholic beverages. I mean, I use rubbing alcohol on my cuts, and I'm like, I use mouthwash daily to clean my teeth. That has a little bit of alcohol, but as far as me using alcohol to consume for the sake of relaxing and getting inebriated, I have not done it in 7 years. Excuse me. The actual date is like June 5th or June 6th, something like that. I don't know I can't remember the specific date. So what I started doing is I just started calling it June 1st just for the sake of remembering. Hey, what up, guys? What's going on? You're tuned in? Yeah, I just started calling it June 1st just for the sake of memory. I can't remember that if it's the 5th or 3rd or whatever. I used to drink a lot back in the days, man. Yeah. Thank you for the congratulations, man. And it's been a good thing. Like there's a lot of reasons why I chose to stop drinking, and I've quit two other times. I quit in 2012. My grandmother passed away, so as a tribute to her, I quit for a year, from 2012 until 2013. And on the year anniversary of me not drinking in 2013, I got to drink again. Then the second time I quit, it was towards the end of 2017. I lost a wisdom tooth. Like half my wisdom tooth broke, and I needed it extracted. And what they do is, before they extract your teeth, because they have to put you under, or put you on like heavy sedatives. They test your blood pressure. When they put you under, when they put you on certain sedatives, it raises your blood pressure extremely high. So if you already have high blood pressure and they put you in those sedatives, it runs the risk of you having a heart attack. You know? And so they said they can't extract this tooth until I get my blood pressure down. I talked to my doctor about it. I said, what's the fastest way for me to drop this blood pressure? I gotta get this tooth out. This was like August of 2017. He said, you drink? I was like, yeah. He said, stop drinking. You'll see it drop dramatically. So I quit. I quit. Blood pressure went down. Towards the end of 2017, got the tooth extracted. And I didn't start drinking again till, I don't know if it was the summer of 2018 or whatever, but one of my homeboys convinced me to just take some shots with him. I was like, brother. And you know what? Even before that, I know when I started drinking again. It was like a gradual thing. My homeboy Will was getting married, and I was hanging with this person who at the time happened to quit drinking, was going through it too. And at the wedding, they just had open bar. So we was like, we ain't gonna drink no hard liquor, but we just gonna have some wine. So between the two of us, we had wine, and then she fell back off the wagon. And a couple months after that, it was easy to convince me to have some shots with my homeboy. At the I remember December of 2018. So that's when I started drinking again, like heavy again. And then I finally quit because I was getting fat. Like I weighed almost like 280 pounds, and my voice was real raspy. Pay attention to that part. My voice was extremely raspy. I was losing my singing voice. I was like sounding more like this. I always what I mean? It was just real scratchy. And I just got tired of just being like the weight that I was at, and just my motivation. I was listening to a lot of Kevin Samuels at the time, and he was just talking about taking more care of your body. So I just started working out more. And I remember the last day I drank, I was with my boy Cliff, and I won't say the town, but we was riding around a particular town. And it was this chick I used to be in love with like many years ago, over 20 years or whatever. And she don't live in that town no more, but we was just riding through that town, and I was just drunk I'm drunk driving, taking them through the memory lane and shit of when I helped her, and where she used to live, and just like I said, she had been moved from there. It's very weirdish, very stalkerish, but she moved from there like 20 years after that. It's just the comedy club that we were at, or wherever we performed, was kind of close to where it was, so it was kind of a convenient thing. And I remember I had a handle of Tito's, and that day I told myself, this is the last bottle of liquor I'm going to have, and I'm done. I told myself I'm not drinking again unless I lose, unless I get down to 200 pounds. I think at the time I was 260, and it's crazy because I'm still close to that same weight, but I'm a lot healthier than I was back then. Skin looked better, voice is clear. Pay attention to that. Anyway, so me and my boy Cliff, we riding around town, and at this point I knew this is the last time I had this bottle, and it was like the handle, you know what I'm saying? So I'm drinking, driving drinking, you know what I'm saying, like this. Cause like, you know, we both sharing a bottle, sharing the big ass goofy bottle of Tito's. That's what we was drinking or whatever. And then once I was done, once it was empty, we finished the bottle, and like we was like in the middle of the street. And I said, I'm done with this shit. And I tossed the bottle in the air, mad high, in the middle of the street, and it just hit the ground. And it just exploded. That was the last. And I would not advise anybody to do anything like that. If you're gonna quit drinking, just quit. You don't got to go through no dramatic. You getting drunk with your homeboy, telling sad stories, driving through the old town of the chick that you used to be in love with that didn't love you. You don't got to do all that. But that was my ritual of being done with it. And once I was done with it, I was done with it. Because mainly I wanted to lose weight. And I lost, but the weight is up and down. Like, the food is more, you see I'm eating potato chips. The food is my vice more than the alcohol by far. You know what I'm saying? Because I done quit alcohol 3 times. I ain't never quit Lay's potato chips. You know, that's what I really need to quit. You know what I'm saying? And so I noticed like my energy was getting better. I noticed like even on stage, I was like, I could argue that I may have come off as more fearless with some of the things that I tried to tackle, but my mind was a lot more clear when I get on stage. You know, there's been too many times when I was drinking where I had some golden opportunities. Like I was drunk and I was high off a weed brownie when I first, like, you know, not my first, my first booking in Los Angeles, I was high and I couldn't even perform though, and I was drunk. It was a combination of both. I was in a contest at Stress Factory, like in 2018. Got too drunk in front of the comedian Talent Harris. His last memory of me, because he's still alive, but I'm saying his last memory of me performing is me drunk and just bombing and being whack. I haven't heard from him since. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a few situations where alcohol definitely did not help my execution on stage. I say that to say this. My execution on stage is way better now. You know what I'm saying? It's way better since I quit drinking. But the main thing, you know, the main thing I took away from it is once I quit drinking, I noticed my voice started to come back, man. Like that, because it always felt raspy. It always felt like phlegmy. Even though I still got the phlegm issues, but it's not as bad as before. But my voice was like supremely clear, and I was starting to get my singing voice back. My singing voice, you know what I'm saying? I went from like a second tenor to like a scratchy baritone. And no disrespect to the scratchy baritones, but I like being a second tenor teetering on the first tenor. So if anything kept me from going back to drinking, it's not the drunken nights, it's not the random booty cheeks, because I was still doing my thing even without the alcohol. It wasn't that. It's not even the weight, because my weight still fluctuates. It was the healthiness of my singing voice. I was like, yo, if me drinking, like singing is probably one of the things I love doing most. Probably even more than comedy. I just don't have the confidence in my singing the way I have the confidence in my stand-up. And singing is just one of those things you could just do at any time, any moment. It's pleasing, it's socially acceptable. People are like, hey, oh my God, he's a great singer. But if you're just walking around randomly out loud saying stand-up comedy jokes, people will look at you like you're crazy. You might get a couple chuckles in there. Maybe I need to get a little boombox and a microphone like Charlie Barnett and just go into a park and just randomly start yelling jokes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, I can sing, walk around, do everything I can do. You know what I'm saying? I can do that. Yeah, some people like evil-hearted people. They get annoyed by my voice. You're always singing. You know what I mean? I'm like, you just mad because you can't do it. So that's the main thing that's the main reason why I haven't picked the bottle up. Will I pick it up again? I don't know. I don't really see the need for it. I do like the way it makes me feel. You know, have a nice little drink. I can still recall the feeling. It's crazy, you know. Like I always talk about the brain being a supercomputer. If I change, like even right now, I'm just thinking about the pleasure of just having a good drink and a relaxation, and just me thinking about that is making me kind of relax. So sometimes it ain't even about the substance will kind of help you get there faster, but I think if you have power over your mind, you can convince yourself to simulate that feeling, not completely drunk, but just the relaxation of the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to figure that out, man. And I like other things too, but I can't. I have a CDL, so I can't do the edibles or THC or anything like that. But I can still recall the feeling of how it made me felt when I did that. They say the subconscious. This guy's an asshole, yo. They say the subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. So if the fantasy is you are in a state of inebriation or intoxication or elevation, I think the secret to it is like to try to put yourself in that position. Hey, what's up, Lisa Capone? Try to recall how that situation felt and really like mentally try to project yourself in there and just remember the sensation. Remember how the goosebumps it feels on your skin. You know what I'm saying? Imagine your eyes dilating. And I wouldn't advise you to do this while you're driving. You know what I'm saying? Because this is definitely some type of hypnosis. I'm not no genius or nothing like that, but logic is telling me this is some form of hypnosis. But just try to like recall yourself in that state when you were once in that state. Your subconscious doesn't know a difference. And just enjoy that moment. When you're having moments of laughter, you around your friends and y'all having a good time watching the game, even without the liquor, you just hyped up, just laughter definitely does induce good feelings, man. But when you're in that state, a lot of times you don't always have access to outside substances, but you still feel good. The endorphins are still released. What else? It's always two words. I always forget. One is endorphins and dopamine. Those are the two things that make you feel good. The endorphins and the dopamine are released without you having any of those substances. I theorize what those substances do: drugs, alcohol, weed, mushrooms, and all that kind of stuff. It just unlocks things that you naturally have inside of your body. It's just a faster track to getting to that point. They say that whatever that chemical is, oh my God, that Joe Rogan always talks about it. It's basically the chemical that's released right before you die. It's right inside your body, but there's a mushroom. I forget, damn. And I used to always say the name of this mushroom, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. If somebody knows it, what I'm saying, shout it out, scream it out. But anyway, that mushroom that puts you in that state, your brain already naturally releases that chemical to put you in that state. It's just the mushroom. It's just the mushroom gets you to that place a lot more fast. But a lot of us we are very impatient. We want the fast track to whatever place that we're trying to get to. That's why we have TV dinners. That's why we have air fryers. You know what I'm saying? That's why we binge watch shows instead of waiting until the next week and building up the anticipation. Because we want everything fast, we want everything now. But sometimes we can take time with these natural things inside of our body, I feel, to put us in these elevated, and naturally intoxicated states. I remember when I was in college and I was at like a keg party or something like that at UConn. And before I was old enough to drink. And back then I was adamant about not drinking for damn near until I was 20 years old. I was adamant about being a virgin, all that. And I just meant everybody was drinking and I wasn't drinking, but I got caught up in the hysteria of everybody just having a good time and being all elated. Like I fed off of their energy. And even though I was, and I still remember this, even though I didn't have any alcohol, I was drunk just like them because I got caught up in the hysteria, the hysterics of what they were doing. So yes, you can't lie about, like, you know what I'm saying? You drink some alcohol, You definitely gonna get messed up. But a lot of it is your own self helping you put like the alcohol just helps push you to a place that you can get to on your own, man. I proved that when I was 19. And then somebody like threw a beer in my back, you know what I'm saying? I knew who did that shit too. Just this goofy ass dude, he ain't drunk and they just, you know what I mean, threw like an empty can at me. You know, I was about to say his name, but it's whatever. I ain't see him do it, but I knew he did it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's in my mind. But he was just annoyed by me because I was the holier than thou at the time. Jehovah's Witness, always trying to preach to people, telling people what to do, and here everybody having drinks and getting drunk, and I'm like, yo, I'm drunk and I don't even have a drink. Man, that's going to annoy anybody that's drinking. Now I don't co-sign the BS of him doing that to me. And looking back, I wish I had the brain I had in me right now. I would have punched him right in his face, no hesitation, and slammed him on his effing head. But you know, all I could do was fight that battle inside my head. The only way I could travel back in, there is a such thing as a time machine. It's called your memory. So I can take my memory back then and mentally, I can change the history of that. And in my mind, I see myself punching and beating the shit out of that dude, and that actually makes me feel better in the future. So I changed the past. So I changed my past memory, which in turn changed my future self-esteem. That's how you time travel, right inside your head. Change your perspective of how, bad things may have happened to you. You've been through certain situations. You may have even done bad things, but you change your perspective of how you change your perspective of how you view that certain thing. You know what I'm saying? It could have been a situation where you were a victim, and you can change it to how maybe that was a necessary thing you had to go through to be at the point or the situation that you're in right now. You can change the perspective. Like you may have done something bad to somebody, but you can change it to but it could have been an outside thing that pushed you to be a certain way to do said thing. You can forgive yourself and ask for forgiveness to that person, even you never see them again in your life. Just maybe on like a esoteric spiritual level. Anything to keep you sane in this world, man. Anything like this world is tough, man. This world, by no means is this experience that we call life a simple, easy experience. So any tricks that we can do to play with our minds, just to be able to maintain our sanity and be productive, peaceful members of society, I say do it, man. You know what I'm saying? Do that. Whatever it is that you can do, that you got to do to keep yourself in the right mind state. If you got to rearrange memories and things of that nature just to boost your esteem and to make you feel better in the present, that's literally changing how you view something in your past. Is literally time traveling. It's literally changing your mindset and how you view things and how you move forward with it. Literally. That's why I had to quit that booze, bro. I've always been a deep esoteric type individual. I remember being 5 years old and just contemplating what death is. Trying to figure stuff out. I remember, quote unquote, willfully deciding to be a part of Jehovah's Witnesses because logically it made sense to me when I was 12 years old. Like I willfully gave up celebrating Christmas and my birthday and holidays, at least blatantly. You know what I mean? And I converted 4 of my best friends into it, and probably countless others. Me as a young 12-year-old kid, man. Very, what I lacked in fists and might and strength and aggression, man, I made up for it in intellect and logic and persuasiveness. If this was, in fantasy games, they have different characters. Like they'll have a bard. I don't know what the hell a bard is, but they have a bard, and they'll have a sorcerer, and they'll have a magician, then they'll have a knight, then they'll have an archer. I think a bard has something to do with spells. I think a bard, they like sing songs and enchant people. Yeah. If anybody's watching this and they know anything about fantasy games or fantasy movies, tell me what a bard is. BARD. Matter of fact, I'm about to look that up right now. Give me 1 second. You know, I was never not like that, not with my fists, but I was more of a bard, a poet, a storyteller, cast spells with my words. I was able to influence people and convince them to do things. You know what I'm saying? That was the description of my power. You know what I'm saying? And even in that, that's rewriting history, because I used to get bullied a lot when I was a little kid, thinking I was a punk, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is, if you don't want children to get bullied, you got to teach them how to fight. You know what I'm saying? And once I learned a little bit of martial arts, that definitely did help. But you can't just tell a kid, go out and just fight. No, you got to actually show them, have them spar against other children to help build up that confidence. So when they're faced with certain situations, they know how to handle themselves. You know what I'm saying? But that is an entirely different story. But yeah, how I'm rewriting history is, for the longest, I used to see myself as a sucker, a coward, a punk, because I never wanted to fight. I always tried to talk things out. But if my back was against the wall, I definitely put my dukes up. But I was always trying to talk myself out of it. And you know what I'm saying? And once we stopped moving as much. Once I was no longer the new kid, that's another thing too. When a kid is always a new kid, he always gonna get tested. When he has a strong foundation of his community where he is, the bullying stops. I'm living proof of that. You know what I'm saying? But instead of looking at myself as a coward, I look at myself as the bard, because I talk myself out of a lot of situations, and then eventually people just started thinking I was hilarious, and the bullying was pretty much completely eradicated, man. People saw me as the comical funny dude. You know what I'm saying? I would always, here and there, as a man and a black man in the hood and a light-skinned black man, you always gonna get challenged. So that's just what it is. But rewriting history, I wasn't no punk. I wasn't no coward. I was a bard. I was a poet. That's what I was. When I had to fight, I did. I just didn't seek it out or seek revenge or nothing like that. You know what I mean? But that's a way of, I just literally time traveled in my head, rewrote history of the experience. You know what I'm saying? And I think if my mind wasn't as clear, if my brain was constantly floating in a bottle of Tito's, I probably couldn't come up with a conclusion or time travel so easily that fast. I'm just saying, man. 7 years. If the only way I would drink again, and I said 200 pounds is my goal. Nah, man, we gotta go below that. I have to be below 200 pounds, like 195, 190 pounds, right? And I have to maintain that 190-pound weight at least 6 months. Because me, at the age of 47, going on 48, to maintain that weight at this age, I'm not saying I have to go super hard, but I have to be extremely, extremely consistent. And it can't be something that I'm just doing for now. It has to be a consistent lifestyle change. Like me not drinking at all for 7 years, that is a lifestyle change. You know what I mean? Eating certain foods, working out on a consistent basis. This has to be a consistent thing that I was doing once I reached that 190-pound goal, but it has to be maintained for 6 months. If I can maintain, once I get to that point, if I can maintain that for 6 months, then on occasion, I have myself a glass of wine or a cocktail. But to me having permission to go back into that world of consuming an alcoholic beverage is the reward. I don't get the reward until I win or achieve my goal. I win or achieve my goal by not only reaching 190 pounds, but maintaining that 190 pounds for 6 months. Because at that point, that's just who I am. And here's the funny thing. Once I get to the, I'm going to get to that level. I'm going to make it. But once I get to that point, I might not even want alcohol at all. That's the crazy thing. And it'll be good to be in that physical, with that, like, because me at this weight, the weight to me, I don't look like a super fat guy, but I'm big. I'm 5'10", And I think the last time I weighed myself, I'm like 255. That's a big. I'm bigger than Mike Allstott. You know, Mike Allstott was a big fullback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers about like a decade ago. Mike and Peyton Hillis, like them dudes, and they was like 6'2", 6'3", man, 260. I'm at their size, and them dudes look huge, but a lot of that was muscle more than fat. Mine is mostly belly. Probably like 70 pounds in my belly alone. You know what I'm saying? But even at 190, like I said, my height, I'm supposed to be 160. I think that would be too skinny. I think even at 190, I would look ripped. I would look gorgeous. But if I can maintain that, it's going to be a good thing. I'm in entertainment as far as a stand-up comedian, and then once Hollywood get the calling or they need to choose me for some roles or whatever, a good-looking middle-aged man that's in shape can be plugged into a lot of different roles. That's just the way I see it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could be the fat light-skinned dad, the Uncle Phil. Nah, I don't want to be that. You know, my goal is to live until I'm 80. You know what I mean? If I can, you know, if that don't happen, it is what it is. Everyone has their time, but we definitely have control over. I wouldn't even say necessarily extending our life, but even beyond that, just improving the quality of life in our later years. Like, we all got our time. Yep, I knew that was gonna happen. We all have our time. We all have our expiration date. Yeah, every time like I'm about to take a left or something like that, and there's a bunch of cars and I can't see, literally as soon as I hit the street or the opening, it's always a car speeding. Like every single time. Every time. It's like some in the universe want me to just not pay attention to it, just dart out so my car can get creamed. And I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but I anticipating it happening every single time I'm about to take a left and I can't really see. Every time, yo. So that's a good thing, to be on point and be aware of your blind spots, knowing that whatever it is, the enemy, the universe, or the dark side, or whatever, they always try to attack you when you don't notice, man. You know what I'm saying? When you slipping, you know what I'm saying? You got to be vigilant. You got to stay on point. You got to pay attention because they, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're gonna try to get you. Listen, I have spoken enough. I gave y'all a strong 30 minutes. I got to get out of this car. It's always a pleasure talking to my friends and my family on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification, just so you know exactly when I come on, which is pretty much 4:30 Monday through Friday, you know, Eastern Standard Time. And as I tell all my young and up-and-coming comedians, there is no such thing as writer's block. If the comedy guys have not given you anything new to scribe on that page, it is their way of telling you to work on the things that they already gave you. Stay away from the nonsense. Stay away from the negativity. Stay away from the gossip. Stay away from the rumors. Focus. Stay away from the foolishness. Focus on the funny and lead with love. Life is not something that just happens to you in spite of you. Life is an experience for us to behold. So get to beholding. I'll see y'all tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I'll put the link to Hartford 911 if y'all want to see some of my acting and stuff like that. And with that being said, y'all have yourselves a wonderful Monday. Drink responsibly. Peace.